Hello and welcome to StarK's monthly webinar held in our Baltimore offices in Baltimore, Maryland, of all places. We're here today with Rabbi Dovid Heber. Thank you for joining us, Rabbi Heber. Again, we're glad to have you back.
Nice to be back.
I'm Rabbi Goldberg, your host. These webinars are held the last Wednesday of every month at 12 noon Eastern Time, either daylight savings or standard time, depending on the time of year. And they are archived. The best place to find them is on our Vimeo channel, and look on Vimeo for StarK Kosher, and you'll find all our past webinars, including the one we had in June about this the leap second. Remember that, Rabbi Heber? The leap second, the extra second. Oh no, this was, I forget already. It was an extra second, right? An extra second that was added to make the calendars, to adjust the calendars, and we had an interesting talk about that. Also, Rabbi Heber, we've had you on. You have some webinars about hilchos brachos, a 4-series session on the laws of brachos, and we'll be able to. You can access that as well. Rabbi Heber is also the author of the Sefer Sharei Zmanim, a comprehensive work on the laws of the Jewish calendar, and actually, Rabbi Heber, I snipped it over here for you, and here it is. You can see that right there on eichlers.com. You can purchase it for the low price of $10.99, and it's a wonderful sefer. And if you're interested and want to follow up on some of the Zmanim issues, you can find them there. Let me bring this back. So today, Rabbi Heber, we're going to discuss a few minutes about the changing of the clock, which is happening this early Sunday morning, and then we'll move on to our main topic, which is Kiddush on Shabbos. Inspired by the last week's the Shabbos project, right? Shabbat project last week, where thousands and thousands of people around the world joined together for Shabbos. So it's apropos time to discuss the laws of Kiddush on Shabbos. I just want to mention, if you are following us by telephone, or you want to call us, you have trouble with your sound, the number is 218-895-1203. 218-895-1203, passcode 2020#. If you want to sign up for the information about the webinars, email us at info@star-k.org, where we can also take all your questions and comments about kosher. We have a chat box here. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so that people can be able to chat with us here on the bottom of your screen. We're interested in taking your questions. And okay, so we have a question here, but we're going to first discuss a little bit about the savings time. Just a couple minutes, Rabbi Heber. So, what is how does the change of the clock affect the Jewish person?
Okay, so in America, of course, the clock is changed back to standard time. There are during the summer, actually most of the year, the daylight savings time began on the second Sunday in March. Mm-hmm. Those of you actually looking ahead, we'll see next year it'll happen. Of course, second Sunday in March, a year from that, 2017, that day is going to be on Purim. Just take note that we'll actually change the clock on Purim.
Okay.
For a little ad lo yada of what time it is. But anyway, it's the daylight savings time runs for 34 weeks every year. Mm-hmm. And the standard time is either 18, and this year we have a rare opportunity of 19 weeks of standard time. That's why you notice it's the beginning of November.
Because November 1st is Sunday.
Exactly, and it'll go till March, the second Sunday, will be the 13th to the 14th.
Right. I actually got confused. I thought we were changing the clock next week, because I know it's the first week in
the first Sunday in November.
Right, but since it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Right?
Correct. So really, exactly. So one thing is it's a Sunday morning at 2 a.m., not Motzei Shabbos. We think it's Motzei Shabbos, but it's really, so therefore the nafka mina is this year, when the first Sunday is November 1st, the first Motzei Shabbos, of course, November 7th. Of course, in 2007, this was instituted, so for about 8 years, we've had it like this. It used to be the last Sunday in October, so on those rules, it would have actually been changed this past Motzei Shabbos, this past Sunday morning. L'maisa, though, of course, one major difference, several differences that will be noticed because the hour is going back, is Shabbos, not this coming Shabbos, but next Shabbos will be extremely early. That's that's always the first week is very difficult because people are accustomed to making Shabbos. Of course, the summer is late, but even now, it's Luchsin is about 6 o'clock around here, a little bit earlier, but in further west it's 6-ish, a little earlier, a little later, and all of a sudden, next Shabbos Parshas Chaisara, Luchsin is going to be in Baltimore probably about 4:45. So we go back to, in New York even earlier, and in Boston.
It's going back about an hour and 10 minutes or so.
Correct, depending on an hour, 5 minutes, an hour, 10 minutes, and so on. But it's going to move back. Of course, that means the Motzei Shabbos are longer as well. A lot of Avos Abanim programs will begin that don't have in the summer, have Shabbos afternoon in the summer. That's a good opportunity for our shul's actually starting this Motzei Shabbos because of the clock change. So that's important. Also, davening, some people who daven Vasikin at Nates, of course, it's going to go back an hour. That's been, for those who daven then, it's been actually very, very late, which this week is a difficult week for the worker who's trying to catch that train or beat the rush hour traffic, because in places like Detroit, sunrise is already after 8 a.m. This year is not, and therefore Alois HaShachar is about 6:50 approximately. So this year was a little bit better because we're changing the clock November 1st. When we change the clock November 7th, if that's a Sunday, that first week in November is even later than that.
I remember you once said that the latest time was in South Bend, which when Nate's was 8.
So I forgot 8:15, 8:20.
Not this year, but
correct. Now next year it's going to be pretty late.
Right, so that means you couldn't daven Shachris till. I mean, we discussed
correct.
A few years ago. We had a webinar on the daylight saving.
Exactly.
The webinar was about the savings.
Right, the other, probably most important issue to be cognizant of is next week is the earliest Makriya Shema. In particular, next Shabbos, Chaisara, because we changed the clock November 1st, so already by Shabbos, November 7th, you'll already have standard time. So, for example, in Boston, Seif Makriya Shema next Shabbos will be 8:56 a.m. In Chicago, local time will probably be shortly after 9.
Okay, so let's say if you start a minyan at 8:30, a typical minyan might start at 8:30 on Shabbos.
Right,
so by 9 o'clock, they're not getting till Kriya Shema till 9:05, 9:10 or something like that.
Right, correct.
Right,
so those towns have to be careful.
They have to either start earlier.
Exactly.
And we're talking here not about the Magen of Rome, the latest possible time.
Correct.
The latest possible time. So you have to either start earlier or just say Kriya Shema.
Exactly. And even in Baltimore, if your shul started at 8:45, you're going to have, it's going to be close. I think you may even miss, if it started at 8:45, you'll
miss it, right?
You'll miss it. So you have to be careful. It is the earliest for most locations in the United States, anywhere south of approximately the border of, let's say, Portland, Maine, anywhere south of there. Besides the state of Arizona, this is the earliest Seif Makriya Shema. This is Sunday you'll have for a number of years. So again, be extra careful. Right. So you have to be careful with the Kriya Shema. What I wanted to mention, you told this story a few years ago. I heard it from you actually about in Israel there was a terrorist from the territories that. He set a bomb, but with tremendous shata d'shmaya, it didn't go off at the right time. Correct. Because they had changed the clock in Israel. Different. They had changed the clock earlier than the rest of the world, and therefore he didn't realize that, he didn't know it. So he set the bomb. It went off at a time that there wasn't anybody around. I think the terrorists were instead. They were there.
They got killed.
Right.
So you see that, you never know what the reason is. I mean, we know that Israel changed the clock this past Motzei Shabbos.
Europe, they switched last year. Israel used to change before Yom Kippur.
Oh, right, so and then they did away with that.
Right, so that people would have to fast.
So last Motzei Shabbos was the whole Europe change?
Correct, Europe was a week different. Europe stayed on the last Sunday.
So Israel is now together with Europe.
Correct, but America decided to tack on that extra week.
So the main the main thing is that now it's only 6 hours difference between here and Israel for this week. If you're trying to reach somebody in Eretz Israel, but because of that that change, so the terrorists were Hashem sent a special protection that they didn't do any damage.
Right, I have a svara that why they had tacked the week on. It's because there's a
who had the week on?
Why America tacked it on.
Okay.
It was that week what it really accomplished. So, the grape holiday known as Halloween, which is October 31st.
Right.
Kids go out; they're out at night. So it was always for years. It was always standard time. Always had to be standard time because when it was the last Sunday in October, by definition, the last Sunday in October is going to come by 2 a.m. October 31st. So October 31st was always in standard time, which meant it was dark. Under the new plan since 2007, there's an extra hour of light. The sun goes down at 6 o'clock, let's say, and it's light until about 6:30, 6:45. So the kids who are enjoying their chagam, right, have that extra hour of sunlight, and therefore that extra week gave that.
You're saying why they did it?
Correct.
That was their thinking.
That was part. I think so.
Oh, that was the part of the thinking.
But again, it hurt people on Kriyishma because of that chag. It hurt. And also on periodic years, and I believe next year you'll have it. But rare, you'll have election day and standard time. I think next year you'll have such a thing.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, so there are all these. There are so many different aspects to talk about.
We can go on with this.
This is one of Rabbi Heber's great areas of expertise. One of the many, and I want to just bring up over here. Where are we? Here we are. Okay. This is if you're interested in seeing our webinar from a couple of years ago where we spoke only about daylight savings. I just brought up the link that you can take a look over there when we finish this one, and you can see that webinar about the daylight savings. So let's move on to the Kiddush, which is our main topic today, Rabbi Heber. Let's start with, are there any zmanim issues, time-bound issues with Kiddush that we could start with?
Okay, so Kiddush, of course, Kiddush has to be on Shabbos. We're talking about now the Shabbos Kiddush. In the summer, this is very relevant, of course.
Friday night, let's say.
Friday night, you can make Kiddush as early as Plaga Mincha, which is in 1 1/4 halachic hours before sunset. Mm-hmm. In the winter, that's really not so relevant because people don't make early Shabbos in the winter, rare. But rather they make it bisman. So the halacha is, by the time most people make Kiddush already after 6 o'clock.
It's dark.
It's already dark by the time you come home from shul, you make Kiddush.
Right.
But in theory, one has the ability, even in the winter time, to make a Kiddush from Plaga Mincha.
So that would be, let's say this week, next week. It would be, we said Shabbos is going to start at 4:45. So what time about is Plaga Mincha?
I'd say it's about, I would say about 3:50, 3:55, 4 o'clock. That's just guessing off the top. In Baltimore.
Okay. In Baltimore, about 4 o'clock.
Right, correct.
So you could start Shabbos as early as 4 o'clock.
Or before that a little bit, so if someone wants a long
3:50.
Someone wants a long Shabbos, you shoot it to 4:30.
I imagine there aren't too many people going to do that
no,
first week.
No, not all. And there's an interesting psak about the latest time to make Kiddush. This is not so commonly known, but if a person was unable to make Kiddush Friday night, let's say someone was hospitalized, they didn't get home till Shabbos afternoon, you would make up the Shabbos Kiddush Shabbos afternoon,
right,
all the way up until sunset. Even after sunset, there's discussion of the Paiskim. Besides Yom HaShishi, but only you don't say Yom HaShishi at night, but by day you would actually make. You would separate your
You would recite the whole Kiddush if you didn't say it on Friday night. Right. Or if, let's say, you didn't have grape juice and you didn't have bread, because you can make Kiddush on bread.
Friday night you can make on bread.
Friday night you can make on bread. But let's say you didn't have any of that. So you could make it up until Shabbos day.
Through Shabbos day, correct.
Mm-hmm. Through Shabbos.
And of course, you alluded to this, Kiddush has to be Makam Suda. That's very important that people realize that. And whenever you make Kiddush, both the night Kiddush and the day Kiddush has to be Makam Suda, which means you have to eat a meal at the time of the Kiddush. What does a meal constitute? Friday night typically means you make hamaitzi, and that's your meal. You should have to eat for the meal. One has to eat at least a kazayas, which is the size of a golf ball, to constitute a suda. By day, of course, people will either eat the kazayas when they eat their suda, both by night and by day. Ideally, you're supposed to eat a kabeya. That's 2 kazayas.
2 golf ball size.
2 golf balls. But you have it
bread.
Bread. But you have it one is enough. One is enough.
Now, if you that has a rule with washing as well with the bracha, right? If you're going to eat 2 golf ball sizes, which is advised, then you wash with a bracha. If you're going to eat 1 golf ball size of bread, 1 kazayis,
then you don't make alto sodayim.
You wash without a bracha, but you make a maisi.
You make a maisi and you bench,
right.
and you'd fulfill your obligation for the Suda without a question. Now, of course, by day, the common practice, of course, people go to a Kiddush, right? People by day, people go to a Kiddush where they eat cake. That constitutes the Suda. You're not yoytze Suda Shabbos with that. You haven't fulfilled your obligation of a Suda at that point. However, as far as the halachas of Kiddush Suda, that you've fulfilled. In other words,
so you were able to drink the Kiddush.
And now, or someone made, the Rav made Kiddush or whoever, and now that cake allows you to fulfill your Kiddush obligation because you ate the Suda, which was cake, which could be any mezainis.
But you still have to go home and eat the bread.
Correct.
Okay, so we do have some questions about this. I have an allergy to the mold that grows on grape skin. Consequently, I make Kiddush on motzi. Okay, you make Kiddush on the bread. I'm also allergic, but less seriously, to molds, including a sensitivity to yeast. Challah employs much yeast, so I use matzah only.
Yeah, you could make Kiddush on matzah Friday night.
Right.
It would work, and therefore it's fine. You take the 2 matzahs, and you wash, even if your minig is not to usually wash. Only the German custom is to wash at first and then make Kiddush.
Mm-hmm.
Here, even if your custom is not to wash, in this case you would actually wash, say al tasadoyim, and you would the Kiddush would be the challah or the matzah, and you would, instead of saying hagafen, you would say hamaitzi.
Right.
And that would be your Kiddush and Suda at the same time.
Right. In the day, they wouldn't have a problem if they couldn't make Kiddush on something else besides grape juice.
Medina, which would be beer or
right.
schnapps. Of course, the schnapps should be a revius, should hold a revius.
Not the schnapps class.
Correct.
Right.
Unless your Rav told you to do that. And there are those that do, but unless your Rav, that's his, Hanhaga, they told you it's okay. One should not. One should make on if they're making on Chamar Medina, then it should be a revius.
A Chamar Medina would be something that's a common drink, like you mentioned beer and
schnapps. Ideal, it's alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
Shasachak, there are places that allow different iced tea or
maybe iced tea, like different issues, different drinks.
If a person's in a total shasachak, though, there are shittas that say you can make up bread by day. That's your only option. Mm-hmm. That's a very big biddy evidence. That's like if you're just stuck on the road.
Usually,
somewhere.
you imagine a person who can set it up can find something to drink to be able to make Kiddush on during the day. Okay. Sheva says, I'd like to know how much challah I need to eat if I'm on a restricted diet. Shabbos is the only time of the week I eat bread due to allergies.
Right, it's difficult. Right. People that are, there are people that have celiac that have these illnesses. I know people who, if a person becomes violently ill, then they're patur from Suda Shabbos. What they would do is they would hear Kiddush, and they would be yoytze Kiddush Suda with grape juice or wine. That could also serve as your
with the grape juice or wine itself serving as a meal food.
Correct. Then you lose on Suda Shabbos, but then you're patur.
But they have to drink a certain amount.
Revius
was about 4 ounces or so.
Right. If you didn't make Kiddush, you may have to drink revius in addition to the malay lugma that you drank to be Kiddush. But there are different opinions on that. But okay. So now, but if a person is not violently ill, they just
trying to
cut back, and so on. Then they would eat. They would take two challahs or 2 rolls or 2 matzahs or 1 and 1, and they would make hamaitzi, and they would eat at the very minimum a kazayis of the item that works best with them,
which is a golf ball size.
So
the kazayis, but then again, you wouldn't wash. You would wash without making a bracha.
Or let someone else make the something for you.
Okay, that could work. Avram asks, do any poskim permit eating non-mazonos foods as a shul kiddush, as long as one makes a kiddush at home afterwards prior to a Shabbos day Suda?
There's a big discussion, Ramesh, about this, which is beyond the scope of our discussion. But in general, the consensus of most poskim is that if a person wants to eat at a kiddush, they need to make mezainis on something and eat a kazayis of that mezainis. It doesn't have to be cake, by the way. First of all, it can be something healthier like flatbreads. That's number one, if they have them at your shul kiddush. Number 2 is linguine salad is more of what's called a maisa kadera. It's not a pasava bekisnin, which means it's not a cake. You would never bench on it, right? But the bracha would still be mezainis and ala mechia on those items,
Mm-hmm.
and it would serve as your suda without a question.
Okay. Okay. If you use mazonas as kiddush makom suda, and then you eat a suda at home, do you make kiddush again?
Okay, if everybody, you heard kiddush in shul, and then you went home, that's the case, and you had a suda in shul.
Right. So
you don't have to make kiddush at home unless if everybody, you come home and typically there's more than one person there. There's several people that are there, your family, their guests, and so on. If that's the case, then if everyone heard kiddush already in shul and ate a suda meaning the kazayas of the mezainis item other than rice, then everyone's been yaitz kiddush. Everyone has fulfilled their obligation of kiddush, and therefore you really don't need to make kiddush at home.
there are opinions that say you should.
It's a custom. I think it's just a minig yafa.
It's a minig. The grub brings it down, I think, right?
Could be just to say it in the house. A lot of people do it because it has a certain surah.
Because now you're going to wash.
Right, but so what? In other words, kiddush you had.
Right.
And you were yaitz kiddush 100%. And you make a mitzvah. Now a person has to be dangerous with it. Careful with this minig, because if Simchas Torah night they're in shul, and the entire family heard kiddush Simchas Torah. Now some shuls don't have kiddush at night, because at night it's more difficult to rely on the mezainis factor. In other words, at night many poskim hold you have to make hamaitzi. Kiddush is min haTorah, and you don't have to put on Shabbos. But the kiddush at night is more chomer. It's a whole bracha. It's not just hagafen. It's not just a pasuk al kain. It's a whole surah. It's a whole form of kiddush. So now the issue is that Simchas Torah, typically people, some shuls, our shul has a kiddush. So that means kiddush is recited and people eat like they would at a Shabbos kiddush. It's much more elaborate than a Shabbos kiddush. So there's all sorts of mezainis and hilchos and the works. So now, right? So now if everyone has heard kiddush already at that kiddush yontif at night, and everyone ate at that shul kiddush, when everyone goes home and they're sitting at the table and they say, "Oh, let's make kiddush like we do every Shabbos," just because we make kiddush at shul, that's a problem, because no one needs kiddush. Everyone was yaitz kiddush, and now you're talking about a bracha.
I see. So you're saying that people extrapolate from the fact that sometimes on Shabbos day everybody make kiddush in shul, but when they come home they make kiddush again because it's just the bari pri hagafen.
Correct.
And that's okay. It doesn't hurt, because if you want to drink wine or grape juice, you have to make the bari pri hagafen anyway.
Right.
But that doesn't work for a Yom Tov at night.
Or Shabbos at night if you had a kiddush.
Right. Or Shabbos at night, Yom Tov at night, because you made the kiddush and everybody fulfilled their obligation, and there's no reason to make kiddush again at home, the whole long kiddush.
Right. And therefore it's a bracha l'tola.
No
one needs it.
I never thought of that. But did you ever hear
I don't know
people
people
doing it?
No.
You can imagine that somebody might do it.
Correct.
I see. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. If Steve asks, if someone does not want to eat mezonis at a kiddush, would not a drink of grape juice or wine suffice?
It says b'shas al-chak. If you're stuck, then you could drink wine or grape juice or revius, as we mentioned earlier. One would have the ability to do that. That's considered shas al-chak.
Right. So, right. That would I imagine. So a person knows he doesn't want to eat anything at the kiddush. He just wants to drink grape juice. But why would one put himself into that situation?
No, here's the case. Let's say you're at a kiddush a mile away, right? In Baltimore, so I live off Park Heights. My shul's off Park Heights, but I have a kiddush in Greensburg. It's 90-degree day outside. Okay, and I had no kiddush, let's say, in my shul. So now, after shul, right? So by 11:30, I want to walk over to Greensburg. I come there, schwitzing, I'm hot. But I don't want to eat cake. I'd rather wait till I get home and eat the delicious food at home. I'm not interested in cake. I'm not interested in cholent. I'm not interested in kishka. But I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. I just walked a mile. I gotta walk another mile.
All right.
So I want water or soda or something.
But you can't drink anything until you make kiddush.
But you can't drink anything until you make kiddush. So now, or I want to eat a little bit of cholent, but there's not enough besides in there to take care of the problem. I don't want to fill up on cake. So now the issue is, how do you rectify that situation? So again, it's true for a Maisha, which we're not going to get into. But generally speaking, the ideal way then, that's what this person is suggesting, is then just take some grape juice. Take 4 ounces of grape juice or wine, and that'll serve. So you're saying that
you feel that that's enough of a b'diavad situation.
Correct.
You don't have any other choice.
I had this once when I was in Kyle in San Diego. This is in 1989. Mm-hmm. So we had a program in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So we're talking 26 years ago. It was Shabbos Shira.
When did they change the clock that year? No,
89. Yeah. It was that whole story with this interesting trip. In those days, Las Vegas only had one shul, Orthodox shul. There was no Rav, there was no Chabad house, there was no Rav in the shul, there was no rabbinic presence at all. So the Koil, we had actually, the Koil in San Diego, we had 3 programs there that year. One actually at Kashrus, it was not Kashrus yet. One before Pesach, Rosh Koil, and I went, and I was there for Shabbos as well. Anyway, I came there for Shabbos to be call it the scholar residence or a Koil program, whatever it is. And in shul, they were, besides speaking, they were mechaber me to daven Kabbalah Shabbos for the Amid. Now, how you make Kiddush Friday night in shul? So many shuls have the custom of saying Kiddush. Okay. The custom is to give it to a child.
To give the wine,
right? Because the adult is not allowed to drink.
Because he's not eating.
Because he's not eating a meal.
Right.
So how does a child? So the Shabbos speak about that. It's permissible to give it to a child, but an adult can't drink that Kiddush because there's no Kiddush Muzzle. So I made Kiddush, and when I finished making Kiddush, I looked around, and there were no kids coming for the wine. So I had to make a split-second decision on what to do. Of course, I could call anybody. It was Shabbos. Plus, it wasn't a situation. So we made a Las Vegas deal, and that is, I actually drank 4 ounces of the wine, or the grape juice. I don't remember what it was, on the spot.
And then you didn't
or 6 ounces. Right. And that was 6 ounces because I drank to Lugmov to be Yitzhak Kiddush, and then 4 ounces to have the Suda, and that was the Kiddush Muzzle Suda. And then I didn't need Kiddush later. Of course, the Baal Bas said, look at where I was staying.
He made
Kiddush. But Lamaisa, I had already fulfilled my obligation of Kiddush at that point on that. Remember the story vivid. That's some other stories for that trip, but not for now.
So, well, I don't know what else happened in Vegas. Vegas always can have stories.
I stayed by the shul. I was in the shul area.
I'm sure. But you're making an important point that in order to, if you want to be yotzei the grape, use the grape juice as your meal, you have to drink. You're saying 6 ounces.
Correct. Now I believe it's Chukatei. Some hold that the Lugmov counts.
Okay.
In the 4 ounces, but Al Kaponim for sure you need 4 ounces, maybe 6.
Okay. Let's keep going with the chat. Yaakov says it's not really related to Kiddish's question, but is it related to challah? If one child likes one type of challah, another likes another type. Okay, like a bagel. One likes a bagel, one likes matzah. Okay, that works. Should I make a motzian all together under the challah cover, or should each child make a bracha on their own? Lechem Mishnah.
Either way, for sure, if each child does that Lechem Mishnah, that certainly is fine. That'll work. You could do that. There's no chiyuv. In fact, sometimes for chinuch, there are people the kids who make their own kiddush. They have their own chalas. That's certainly fine. Alternatively, if you take one and one, you can hold one and one.
Well, you can hold one and one, but I'm just guessing that they probably want to have a more traditional.
Right, correct. That's a problem. That might not be such a Lechem Mishnah. If you're putting 5 together.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if...
Is that not Lechem Mishnah?
I don't know.
By the Hasidim? Don't they make it on 12 or whatever?
I'm not sure if how that works. So, I don't know. Is it when you make more, but they've all counted as part of Lechem Mishnah? I don't know.
I think that's maybe Yaakov's question, is that when you add more challahs...
They all counted.
Can't you make a Lechem Mishnah on 4 challahs, let's say, and then each one, they're all included?
I'm not sure.
I would think so. It's a good question. Okay, we'll look into that. If that was your question exactly, get in touch with us at info@star-k.org or call us at 410-484-4110. Our new website is supposed to be going up soon, which should have the ability of chatting with us. So maybe that will work next week after we change the clock. Okay. Aviva says, did you say that if you don't need enough mazonos in shul, then you have not fulfilled your Kiddush obligation? What is the status of the Kiddush you made or heard in shul?
Right, if you don't, that's correct. Right. If you don't eat a kazayas of mazonos in shul when hearing the Rav, first of all, one other point about Kiddush in shul is the person making Kiddush has to have kavanah to be mitzi the people, and the person listening has to have kavanah to be yotzei. So let me just give 2 examples. So when the Rav makes Kiddush, he has das, he has in mind to be mitzi everybody, and all the people listening that are waiting to dig in have kavanah to be yotzei. As is the case in your home when you make Kiddush, it's the same thing. You could have, just by example, you could have a case where someone's making Kiddush later, and he's standing there with his family making Kiddush, and someone's listening to the Kiddush, but the balabas only had kavanah for his family.
Because he doesn't see the people behind him.
Correct, he doesn't have. So it's best to just have whoever wants to listen as yaitze. That's the best way to do it. But furthermore, if a person came down to a Kiddush and said, I don't want to eat this, I'll wait till I get home. And the Rav made Kiddush, they heard every word, but they weren't mechavid, because I don't eat Kiddush, I'll eat at home.
And then they changed their mind.
And then they changed their mind afterwards, they got to go hear Kiddush again, because they didn't have the proper kavanah. The next step is, once you've had kavanah to be yaitze, the Rav said kavanah to be mitzvah, right? All that's in place. Now you need to eat a kazayas. If you don't, then you need to hear Kiddush again at home. So and you shouldn't. You should not eat less than a kazayas.
So you have to pick out a kazayas of cake, which in your mind, again, you compare it to a golf ball. And that's the amount of cake or other mazonos that you need to eat. Okay. Avram asks, how much time can elapse between one's Kiddush and his Suda? Does he need to have his food ready to go on his plate so that he can start eating immediately after hitting Kiddush?
So there's no real number here. It should be done as soon as possible.
Right.
You
wouldn't want to make a break, like, go upstairs and take a walk.
Right, correct.
If you're just waiting for everybody
People
to take
it. People sometimes a little bit. I saw this person in shul, and then this person is back from his trip, and this person at Refuah Shlema is back.
As long as you don't have a hesech hadas, meaning I'm intending on going and getting food.
Correct, but it should be, people should get in the habit as soon as they make Kiddush. Not the split second, they run, race, push rush their way into the kitchen.
Right.
It should be done as soon as possible. I don't know if there's a minute number to that. There's some places there's time that needed people setting up. It's not exactly, but again, the chal should be there, and it should happen as soon as possible.
MZK asks, so if I want to make Kiddush in the morning and there is no mazonos, like for example we're eating shahakal cookies on Pesach. This is the reason why a lot of times there's no Kiddush in the shul on
Pesach.
On Pesach,
one of the many reasons.
If they don't eat kabraks, then
if you don't eat kabraks of course is the mixing of the matzah with the water, and therefore in order to make mezainis on Pesach, you have to eat kabraks, and therefore there's no any item that's mezainis by definition is kabraks, because the only flour, the only chamish minute done product on Pesach is off a matzah. And that means matzah has been changed because it's become matzah meal and baked with water.
A lot of the baked goods that they're selling now on Pesach have moved towards bringing, at least with my
potato starch,
have moved to using potato starch or almond flour. I guess because the taste is just as good or similar, and it satisfies more people. Right? People who don't eat gebrocks will eat only these cookies, but people who eat gebrocks can also eat these cookies.
My grandmother Shalom would send us. I grew up in St. Louis. My father was a chazan there, a rebbe, and the big treat was my grandmother would pack up a box of Hirsch Brothers Pesach potato starch cakes. We didn't. It was not taking gebrocks. Would pack up those cakes and would ship it, and we'd get it in time for Yontif. This was the biggest treat, but that's a shahakol. Right, and you can't make Kiddush Muzzle Suda. So
his question is, do I need to drink 6 ounces by myself?
Or make hamaitzi. That's the only option.
But he's at Kiddush. So he needs to drink the 6 ounces.
Yes.
And his wife needs to drink how much?
4 ounces. If you're at Kiddush, you're making, there's no, in other words, you come up from Ashkama minyan, let's say. People come up from Ashkama minyan, they don't want to wash. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. And now they want to make Kiddush for them and their wife, let's say. And they want a normal Shabbos, they eat cake.
Right.
And then they go learn whatever it is.
Right.
So Pesach morning, let's say Chol Shabbos Chol Moed or Yontif. So this is the question he's asking. I'm going to make Kiddush with my wife.
He's going to drink the 6 ounces, and his wife needs to drink
4 ounces.
4 ounces. Right.
Correct.
And then have your shalkal cookies.
Exactly. Or make hamaitzi on matzah.
Okay. It seems that there was a cutout in sound. I'm not sure exactly where there was. And he says it's not clear how long the gap between Kiddush and the meal can be. And the answer is not a clear answer.
Gap.
There is no.
We had a gap.
There is no clear answer. The answer is that you just have to get to the table and eat, but there isn't a 60-second or 2 minute.
As soon as possible. As soon as reasonably possible.
Okay. Okay. So Rabbi Heber, we mentioned in the email that we sent out that there are some people that don't make Kiddush on Friday night between 6 and 7. The 6 and 7 blackout time for making Kiddush. I was once at somebody's house. I was going to eat it. We were in shul, and he looks at his watch and he says, "Okay, we better hurry." we got to run home. We ran home to make Kiddush. I said, what's going on? He said, well, it's almost 6 o'clock. And at that point, this is 20 years, I don't know, 30 years ago. I had no idea what he exactly was talking about. So let's elaborate a little bit on that.
Right. So there's a minute of the
I understand you wrote an article on that whole topic.
Yes. There's a.
Is it Is it in the back of the Sha'ar Zmanim?
No, I didn't discuss the Sha'ar Zmanim. It was in the Ated, in my Ated, where I have a column of questions and answers.
Okay.
About it, maybe I forgot already. Maybe a year ago or so. I addressed it there. There's a Berheta that brings this, and their Paiskim is more of a Chassidish minig.
Right. This was I was even by a Chassid.
Right. So various Chassidim have this minig. But every hour of there's something which is known as mazolis. And every hour has a mazel to it. The mazel, if people are wondering, well, what mazel is, what's in the Geya, it's very interesting is that the Goyish days of the week reflect the first mazel of the day. Okay, as I'll explain. Every hour is a different mazel.
A different constellation that has...
So there's seven mazolos that exist. The mazel, one of the mazel which is the hour of hezek, of damage, so to speak, would be the mazel of Madam. Madam is Mars. And that mazel comes up every 7 hours. In other words, a different mazolos. Different one mazel is the Chama, the Lavana, the Tzedek, Kaichav. Each one represents a different star or planet. Kaichav being Mercury, etc. Madam is Mars, and so Shabtai is Saturn, and so on. So, in order that Shabbos, the first hour of Shabbos is this mazel of Madam, and therefore, what's the first hour of Shabbos? Well, we go here. This halacha it goes by the set hours kavua, so it will be 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. is mazel Madam, and therefore there are some people who have this minhag of not reciting Kiddush. Now, what's important to know for those who are noyig is that it really depends where you
What
live.
happens if you say Kiddush between 6 and 7?
Your yaitza, and it's fine. It's not a time they hold to start the Shabbos. I'll come back to days of the week in a minute because it's fascinating, this point. But it's just important to know it's not 6 to 7. This is really what I spent the article addressing, is that when there was a standard time change in November 1883.
I thought it was 1884. I'm just kidding.
Right, it might have been actually. It might have been Mag, I get mixed up. But it was around then. So when the standard time change happened, different cities changed their time physically, and therefore, for example, people who were machmer on Mazel Madam in Baltimore would really be doing a little bit of a different time. It comes out to 6:06 to 7:06.
Okay.
Further west you are in the time zone, like Detroit would be approximately 6:30 to 7:30.
Saying at that time.
You know, if your person's makbid in Detroit, they're makbid from about 6:30 to 7:30.
Nowadays.
Nowadays, correct.
Oh,
and with the daylight savings time, it will be 7:30 to 8:30.
So where's it 6 to 7?
6 to 7 in Philadelphia, which is in the middle of the time zone.
What
Would be
about
6
Baltimore?
to 7. Baltimore, we're west of that. We're west of Philly.
So what time is it in Baltimore?
So in other words, there was an artificial change of the clock when they changed to make time zones. Standard time is a new concept, only about 140 years old. Before that, every city had their own time. Too much to get into this now. No, every city had their own time based on when Chatzei Sayam is midday. But Al Kapanim, everybody turned their clock. And Boston is east of the time zone. Eretz Yisrael changed their clock to 21 minutes. And Eretz Yisrael, if you're makbid on Mazel Madam, it's about 5:39 p.m. to 6:39. And in summer it will be 6:39, 7:39. Now, people are saying, not to get them, and if you don't have this minhag, then you don't have to keep this minhag. Again, it's a minhag primarily by Chassidim. But what's interesting is the days of the week, the way the Goyim call it, the nations of the world, in English or French, match the first mazel that we know of in the morning. The mazel at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning is the mazel of Chama. How do you say Chama in English?
Sun.
And what day is it?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay. Sunday,
which we call it, the whole world calls it Sunday, right? I mean, not the whole world, the whole English-speaking world calls it Sunday. Right. The 6 a.m. mazel is Chama. Monday, guess what the mazel of Monday 6 a.m. is? In the Gemara, Rashi speaks about this in Brachos and in Eruvin and other places. Guess what the mazel of 6 a.m. Monday is? What does Monday sound like? Which celestial body?
You tell me.
Moon day.
Moon day.
Right? Monday is moon, so
Okay.
the mazel for Monday morning is 6 a.m. Is the moon.
Okay.
Tuesday, now you gotta go to French. Okay, you know how to say Tuesday French. You know how to say Mars and you know how to say Tuesday. I gave away the answer.
Yeah,
Right?
Mars.
You know how to say Tuesday in French?
Mars.
Mardi.
I see. So
As
every
in
day. So
another
you,
guy's holiday.
right. So you're saying that they may have taken the names of the week, the dates, the days of the week, the names of the days of the week from our mazals.
Correct, from
Mazols,
Mazols, exactly.
that's what you're
They did. Well, it's not our Mazols, it's the world at large. Shabbos is, guess which celestial body sounds like Shabbos is Saturn.
Saturn, right.
That's the Mazel Shabtai on Shabbos morning at 6 a.m. And if you know French, you can do the other ones also.
So let's get back to something. We have to close it out since let's talk about Rabbi Heber. Come back to Kiddush for a minute. One of the things we said we're going to talk about is sitting or standing for Kiddush. Should you sit or stand?
So there's
a few customs.
Correct. Let's understand the reasons. Everybody should follow their family custom.
Right.
This is the three minhagim. It's really one of the minhagim is really an offshoot of the other two, and that is as follows. There are those who stand for Kiddush because when you make Kiddush, when you recite Kiddush, you're giving edus that the Rebbeinu Shalom created the world, right? You're giving testimony.
So they stand the whole
So
thing.
you stand. Why? Because a witness stands. A witness that the witness stands. It's even called a witness stand,
Right.
Because he's standing. So therefore, you're giving edus, so you stand.
Well, nowadays they sit, but okay.
Okay, it's still the witness stand, right? The reason to sit.
But so you're saying there's some who stand the whole time,
because you're standing for edus. My chulu is edus.
and even drink standing.
Stand the whole
Some
thing,
people
the
even
whole
drink
thing.
standing.
Friday night, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, most people when they make Kiddush, they're being mitzi somebody. Right? Most people there are other people at the table. So therefore, when you're mitzi somebody, it's better that you have a kviyas. Kviyas means we're set together, like this guy's here and that guy's there, all over the place. We're sitting around the table. It's a much better kviyas, and therefore, it being mitzi you and the whole meal, etc., than to have a kviyas, you need to sit. And therefore, some have a meaning to sit, because in order to have the kviyas. And then some make a pshara, some make a compromise, and they say, okay, for the edus part of Kiddush, we're going to stand. And then when I'm being mitzi you in the Kiddush itself, by everyone sits and then do a bar perek.
That's like the yeshiva sheminig, I think. I
believe that's what they did, and Tulls, I believe, or whatever, in Tulls I did that. And that's the, Elu. I remember.
I think that more of a Hasidic minig is to stand.
Correct. My father Shalom stood,
but not between 6 and 7.
It depends which Chassidus you are. My father's home stood. I remember eating somewhere, and there were 3 different balbatim, or 3 different individuals, families, and there were 3 different minhagim. My father made it standing. The balabas, I think, sat for the whole kiddush, and there was another guest that stood and sat. So, no one has a meaning of sitting and then standing, though.
When I have people over, I tell them they can do whatever. Even if they don't say with me, I tell them whatever they want to do, they can do. But usually they follow whatever I'm doing.
Well, Pashas, if you're being mitzi them and you're standing, they should do what you're doing. Right. Either stand or sit. If you're sitting, then they sit. They stand. If they make their own kiddush, some say they should follow the minhag of the bias. Let's try to do. But I think people do
whatever they want.
Okay. By day, there's also 2 minhagim. Some stand and some sit.
Let's go to some of the last questions before we have to finish. Avram says, if I make kiddush at the Moshe's Canaan, that's a nursing home for elderly people, but don't want to eat there, can I recite Kiddush without eating and have them rely upon their own eating?
Yes, but someone needs to drink the Kiddush. In other words, you could make Kiddush.
You can't drink the Kiddush for them because...
Well, you could actually, see, this is
at night.
At night you don't have to drink the Kiddush at night because the bracha of hakafen, normally to make a bracha...
Well, how are you going to drink the Kiddush at night if you're not eating the Suda?
Oh, correct.
So
that's right.
You have
so
to have one of them.
The Kiddush is I make a bar perek and yet I'm not drinking. Usually when I make a berachas and then a bracha of food, I have to partake
Friday
in
night,
it.
you don't need
Friday night, I don't need to partake in that. I can actually give it to somebody else. It's like the berachas the suin under the chuppah.
Right, but on Shabbos day,
Shabbos day is trickier because it's will that work? I forgot already that they addressed that. Whether you have to, so that'll work. You can be mitzi them as long as we mitzi somebody. In Moshe's Canaan, one has to be careful. To make sure that there's at least one person that's really being yaitse. In other words, sometimes you go to Moshe's Canaan and the people are people can't comprehend or they're right? They're out of it. So if somebody is holding in it and somebody is yaitse that kiddush, then you can make it for them. I'll give an example. If you go to blow shofar in a nursing home, so let's say you're going to blow, and you can make a bracha for them because they can't. If the person is totally unable to really be yotze to the mitzvah, then you can't really make a bracha for them.
See. Right, that's a good point. Is the color of the wine make a difference for making kiddush?
You can make kiddush on any kosher wine. I believe it says it's a hitter to make on red wine. Certainly Pesach is a hitter, but Seder. But even by a regular Friday night, there's a hitter. But nonetheless, you can make on white wine. It's not a problem.
Okay. Moshe says Shabbos morning we make kiddush and eat mezonus, and then you wash for the suda. You have to make a bracha achrona for the mezonus. So you make kiddush, you have a piece of cake, and then you're going to move directly into your meal.
Right. This is tricky. One should ideally not eat mezonus if they're about to wash. That's a bracha she'en tzricha.
Right, but he didn't realize it, so he's going to eat
realize.
a little bit, or they're not serving the meal yet. He's hungry now.
And then he decides that he wants to wash.
No, let's say he's at a kiddush, he's at a bar mitzvah, so he's invited for the kiddush, and then he's invited to sit down for the meal.
No, but then
so right now,
there's a break.
Yeah, until they set it up, it's going to be a while.
That's a break. The question is, if you.
But he wants to know now. Okay, now he's ready to wash. He didn't make his bracha achrona yet. So should he make an al-michya?
It depends on what you're eating. This is a tricky halacha.
Okay, so they'll be in touch with us.
Sometimes it depends on if you're eating during the meal more.
Okay, so Moshe, you could get in touch with Rabbi Heber and we'll deal with that at length. Yaakov asks, if a chazan makes kiddush in shul and no kids are present, does he drink?
So that was my case in Las Vegas. And that is that exactly. If the chazan
makes kiddush with that, does he need to make kiddush again at home?
Well, theoretically, if he drank a kiddush, if he drank a revius in shul, and a revius, then his yotze doesn't have to make it home. Now, obviously, there's people waiting at home for the kiddush.
Well, not always.
If there's not, then he'd be yotze with that kiddush in shul. Right. But he shouldn't l'chachila. In other words, if there are kids there, he should give it to the kids and not be yotze to that kiddush, and go home, make kiddush again, and eat his meal. But if there's no kids there and he's stuck, if there's really no kids, they really shouldn't make kiddush. That's really pashas. The way to do it.
If there are no kids who want to drink.
If there are no kids who want to drink, right? Then they really should not make kiddush. But if they did, they forgot, they made a mistake, a kid refused on the spot, etc. Then is what you would do.
Okay, there's some questions about women making kiddush before davening, and that's going to take us into a whole nother topic.
Yeah, so that it depends on, there are various minhagim, we could just touch upon it.
Okay.
There are, first it gets to the issue of women eating before davening. There are the prevalent minig in the most Beis Yaakovs in the United States is to recommend the girls eat before they come to school. They daven in school. Many of them daven between first and second period, so they don't just walk in and daven, and therefore they come into a classroom. So you're talking about, they're not davening Shabbos till maybe 9:30, so they eat at home. So the prevalent minig, again, there are those that say not to, but the prevalent minig is that women say brachas, girls say brachas at home. With that, they're yotze the Torah obligation of tefillah, and they're yotze according to Machlekes Rambam and Ramban, whether women have to, what they have to daven. So, as far as eating before davening, once they said brachas, they've been yotze according to some Rishonim, and therefore that's enough to allow them to eat.
You're talking about weekday.
Right. Now the issue is Shabbos morning. There are different minhagim here. Some will say, no, don't make kiddush because the woman is not really chayav in kiddush yet, right? At this point, really, it's the dam shachris to be chayav to have an obligation, and therefore, a woman could just, say brachas and eat. Now, if her brachas is davening, that's all she's going to daven. Then it would seem to be she needs to make kiddush. Although there's a truth from Moshe also it speaks about maybe it's going to be later. Common paiskim. So really, some will tell you, don't make kiddush. You don't have to make kiddush because you're in dam shachris yet. Others are knowing that once you said brachas and now you could be yotze kiddush, and therefore you want to go ahead and make kiddush.
Okay, if they want to follow up with you, they know how to.
It's also an eitzah for a woman who's going to shul and just wants to drink at the kiddush but doesn't want to eat cake and so on.
Okay.
An eitzah would be is that she makes kiddush at home, eats the healthier mezainis that she wants to eat.
I see.
Like a bowl of Cheerios, right? Or right, which is a healthier mezainis
than a cake
and so on. When she gets to shul, she's already heard kiddush. So now she can do whatever she wants in shul. She can drink. She can do whatever she wants. Have the salads in it and so on.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, Rabbi Heber, I think we've come to the end of our discussion. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
This webinar will be archived again on our Vimeo channel. And you can search Vimeo for Star K certification. It should bring it up. It was also at the bottom of the link of the email that you should have received announcing this class, and you can click on it from there. Our classes are held the last Wednesday of every month at 12 noon Eastern Time. Rabbi Heber, when I put out that time, I just write ET, Eastern Time, instead of having to write, right?
EST or EDT.
EST or EDT, Eastern Standard Time, or
Eastern
Daylight Savings Time. I can't keep it straight, so I just I'll make a mistake.
It's good, it works.
And then I'm going to have somebody complain to me that it's not Standard Time, it's Daylight Savings Time. We changed the clock already, didn't you know? So I just write Eastern Time. If you have any follow-up questions, you're welcome to email us at info@star-k.org, or call us at 410-484-4110. Again, look for our new website. It's supposed to be coming up shortly, and we'll have more contact information, and we're really excited about that. Thank you for joining. Have a very good day, and don't forget to change your clocks on
2 a.m.
on Motzei Shabbos. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.